Hello and welcome to 360 Sports on Trust TV. I am Emmanuel Fashimi. Yes, we start with this particular story coming in from the Glass House, that is the Nigerian Football Federation, where we have Ibrahim Musa Gusau, who is leading the charge, who is at the helm of affairs there. That is the president of the Nigerian Football Federation. In his during the campaign for this particular office, he made so many promises, and his manifesto there, and one of those promises is looking at helping Nigerian football to grow, the development of football, and then it was in conjunction with CAF and then FIFA developmental program, and now part of that program now it has started paying off, and now the NFF has started building hostel and pitch inside the MKO Abiola National Stadium. If you actually go to that the area where we have the NFF office, you see that work has actually commenced. The whole place has been cleared. There has been blocks and what have you, and just yesterday the whole process started. So work is ongoing as we speak right now. We'll be having the hostels, and the hostel is for use. The Nigerian national team, the younger teams, under 13, under 15, the under 17 team, both for the boys and girls, that is Flamingos, and then the under 20 girls, the Falconets. They will be making use of these facilities, and then the pitch inside that particular inside the MKO Abiola National Stadium, mini pitch where trainings can be going on and what have you. I think it's a commendable one, and we are actually happy that the NFF president is actually during his campaign for this particular office, some of the promises he has started fulfilling it, and the money, because there are actually monies as in budget being made available for this particular process. FIFA and CAF, they actually want to see the development of football on the continent of Africa, and then their regional areas. So we are happy that this whole process has begun, and definitely we'll be bringing you up to see the whole event, and when it's being completed, it will be open for use immediately. So we'll also be bringing you that story when it's being completed and when they are going to commission the building, the pitch and everything for use. Definitely you will get it on our sports program coming to your screen from Trust TV. So congratulations to the NFF president and his board members for making sure that, yes, they are seen to the development of football in Nigeria. Yes, Nigeria is one country that has the talent. Everywhere. If you go all over the country, there are football talents everywhere. We just need to harness them, identify them, expose them to the best of facilities, and then just show them to the world. Definitely, someday, an African country would win the World Cup. It might be Nigeria, it might be any other country on the continent of Africa winning the World Cup. Morocco came close, but nearly cannot kill a bird. They did the unthinkable. USA 94, Nigeria was a team to beat at that tournament in USA 94, but at the end of the day, we crashed out from the second round of USA 94. At some point, we had Senegal, that was in Japan, Korea 2002, also showcasing what Africa got in the world. Let's not forget that Cameroon also did the Italian 90 World Cup, where you had Roger Milla in that World Cup for Cameroon. So let's see, maybe Nigeria will be the first country to win the World Cup. Nigeria is the first country to win an Olympic gold medal when it comes to football in an Olympic event. So let's see if Nigeria will also follow that trajectory, becoming the first African country to win the World Cup. But if we want to do that, we have to start it now, get it from the grassroots, the basics first, and definitely we can get it right when we get to the top. All right, I don't know if Canis is ready to join on the show this morning. We can bring him home to look at this and other story on the program. Okay, when he's ready, he will be joining up on the show. Let's look at these particular one. Yes, we go straight to CAF. Yes, the AFCON 2025 Super Eagles in Port 2 of the tournament draws. We have a super. We know that the African Cup of Nations will be played this year, and it will be played through 2025 to 2026. For the Super Eagles, they are in part 2 of the draws, and that draws will be coming up in Rabat, Morocco, by the end of this month. On the 27th of January, that draws would be taking place in Rabat, Morocco. But the tournament itself will kick off 21st December 2025 to January 18, 2026. Let's look at the ports. Let's look at the ports now, where we have Nigeria. We quickly let's see the ports, and then where other teams where other teams are in the ports for the draws. We have, if we can have the ports on the screen, definitely Nigeria is in port 2 of the tournament, where we have the likes of we have all the top countries in that port 1. I beg your pardon, not port 2 now. We have Morocco. Yes, initially Nigeria was in port 2 before it was changed to port 1. Now, why it was changed? Due to all of the top teams, the top 6 teams were now put in one port. So now initially Nigeria was in port 2. Now we have Morocco, who are the host. We have Senegal, we have Egypt, we have Algeria, we have Nigeria, and then we have Ivory Coast, who are the holders. And then in port 2, we have Cameroon, we have Mali, we have Tunisia, we have South Africa, DR Congo, we have Burkina Faso, all of them in port 2. And then in port 3, we have Gabon, we have Angola, we have Zambia, Uganda, Equatorial Guinea, Benin Republic. And then in port 4, we have Mozambique, we have Comoros, Tanzania, Sudan, Zimbabwe, and Botswana, all in port 4. So these are the countries that qualified for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. So in port 1, Senegal, Nigeria, Egypt, Algeria, Cote d'Ivoire, who are the hosts, that is Ivory Coast, and then Morocco, who are the holders, Morocco, who are the hosts, Senegal, former champion, Egypt, former champion, Algeria, Nigeria, former champions, and also Ivory Coast, former champions. So all of the top teams, all of the champions are in port 1. So it's not that other teams are not champions, but these are the top countries when it comes to African football. So we'll be looking forward to 27th of January, where we'll be seeing the draws and we'll know the team where Nigeria will be playing against. Okay, we have Canis on the show this morning. Canis, welcome to 360 Sports on Trust TV. Okay, if you can. Hello, Canis, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning and welcome to 360 Sports on Trust TV. The first story this morning, NFF commences building of hostel pitch inside MKO Abiola National Stadium here in Abuja.
Yeah, I believe it's something positive for the stadium. You know, people need to probably camp there, which is closer to the stadium, so they don't have to commute within the cities and face like other little challenges in the morning. We know how we can have traffic congestion and all that in the country. So when they finish whatever they have to do, say practice or session, they can just easily go to the hostel, you know, and pass the night over there. So I think it's something positive. It should be something that we should be seeing in different stadia in Nigeria. You know, we should have that in a whole lot of places. But this particular one in MKO Stadium, I think is cool.
Okay, it's cool. Now we leave that, and we also talked about that's the Super Eagles now in port 1 of the Africa Cup of Nations. Initially, they were in port 2 before they were moved to port 1, and all the whole teams in port 1 are the first, the 6 top teams, first, second, third, fourth, fifth on the rankings on the African continent, and even in the FIFA ranking. Nigeria is now in port 2, in port 1. If you look at the draws will be coming up on the 27th. What are your expectations for the draws and the port we find ourselves in?
Well, can I be looking at the port? Well, I feel
okay. Let's see the port back on the screen.
we got to the finals in the last competition. So whatever short of that would look like we've not improved. We've got a world class team we've got a world class team within Africa. We have one of the best teams out there, and where we got to in the last competition is easily a testament of how good the Super Eagles are and what they can do. Looking at the pot one, so it's clear that we would avoid being in the same group with everybody who are in pot one. They are relatively top African teams. So with that, we are good to go.
Okay, with that, we are good to go. But looking at the team we possess now, we just have, let's say, 10 months thereabout, okay, about 11 months to the commencement of the Africa Cup of Nations. Now, we've won this tournament 3 times, and we've won the bronze medal, the third position, the third place, more than any other team on the continent of Africa 9 good times, a record 9 times we've won the bronze medal. That means we've gone to more than 9 finals, 9 semi-finals on the continent of Africa. Now, if we look at the team we possess now, and then the coming in of Eric Chell, we know we have a whole 11 months to prepare. Maximum 10 months, because the hostilities will start on December 21st, run through Christmas and New Year, and the whole thing will climax on the 18th of January. Do you think Nigeria have what it takes to go to Morocco and then probably still get to the final back to back?
Yes, without a doubt. I do think they have all it takes to go to the finals and be in the medal zone. In the medal zone, I mean first, second, and third. We've got one of the best teams around in Africa. So with the manager who has come, people have had different feelings, and people have had to say a lot of things about the manager, how they are struggling to see the justification behind hiring the manager. I had that feeling also initially, but on a second thought, I felt most times a result hides how good a manager is, because the talent he has at his disposal would actually define the kind of results he would be having. At the end of the day, if he has a good style of play that fits the players that we have at the moment, then he has every reason and every possibility to go find that tournament.
Okay, to go find that tournament, we have Okpanachi Ephraim joining us on the show. Okpanachi, welcome to 360 Sports. Happy New Year to you. You look gloomy this morning. Quickly, for the Super Eagles, they are in pot 1 of the Africa Cup of Nations 2025 draw, and we are looking at that. We are looking at the pots, but what it means for Nigeria. Definitely, all of the 6 teams that are in that pot, Nigeria will not be facing anyone, and they are the top countries on the continent of Africa. Okay, unmute your audio. If you can hear me, unmute your audio.
Okay, sorry about that. No, thank you for having me. Talking about the competition straight away. Nigeria has had a very good run at the AFCON over the years. 16 semi-final appearances. That's the highest any country in Africa has had at the tournament. 16 times we have been to the semi-finals. Gone ahead to win the tournament 3 times. Finished as runners-up, a couple of times, and then third 9 times. So if you've been to the semi-final 16 times, you have won the bronze medal 9 times, and you have won the title 3 times. Then you have lost the finals on 4 other occasions, albeit 3 of those 4 coming to Cameroon. I believe Nigeria is strong enough to be in pot 1 at the moment, based on our recent showing, like Kani said earlier on. And it's not surprising that we have moved from pot 2 to pot 1.
Okay, it's not surprising we've moved from pot 2 to pot 1. But because Canis has his own thoughts during Ruchel, but we've not really heard from you, Okpanachi. If we look at the Super Eagles now with Ruchel on board, the first Malian Francophone coach for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, let's take you on this. From your own perspective, how well do you think Chel will go with the Super Eagles?
Well, I'll look at it this way. He might not have the kind of pedigree the Nigerian coaches have here in Nigeria, but then he has played the game outside of the shores of this country. He has also tried management in Europe. That might count for something. And when you look at the quality of team, the players he had in Mali, and the quality of players he now has in Nigeria, I want to say that he has a better group of players to work with. And sometimes managers are as good as their players. For some other managers do, they know how to improve the players that they have. So time will tell us what kind of manager Eric is. Is it a manager that is as good as his players, or the type of manager that improves the player? So let's give him time to see what he can offer, even though his CV is quite questionable.
Okay, even though you see this, okay, let's see how Eric Chell will work with the Super Eagles. Good one, yes. We've been getting calls from us and go that Eric Chell should be given the support. Definitely, we are here to support Eric Chell to do well with the Super Eagles, because if Super Eagles do well, it's to our own glory and to our upliftment. All right, let's leave the Super Eagles, the AFCON draws, and what have you. This time, I'm still staying with CAF. News from CAF is that DR Congo, that is Congo, has been disqualified and awards Equatorial Guinea the ticket of the Chan Nations Cup. The Chan Nations Cup is for players plying their trade in their local leagues of their country on the continent of Africa. And for Congo, they were found wanting when they fielded an ineligible player. And Equatorial Guinea actually did report that, and after that is a CAF Executive Committee meeting and investigation, now Congo has been disqualified from the Chan Nations Cup. Canis, for Congo, they didn't really put up a good defense to clear their name from this. Initially it was an allegation, but after the findings by CAF, I believe they've seen every reason what the Equatorial Guinea actually reported, because they could not accounted for the player.
Yeah, you remember clearly what we had with Libya when I was saying anything short of 3 goals and 3 points, it's not going to be cool. I really love when fines or punishments, as the case may be, are given to people that, go against the rules. It is healthy for the football in Africa. We always have to make people understand that there are punishments that you're going to face when you go against the policy, or you do what you're asked not to do, and you're fully aware. In fact, whether you do it intentionally or unintentionally, you should serve the punishment. So for me, it's very cool. It's also something that we should always see in the NPFL when teams, don't abide by the policies that have been set down in place, to see that the league is going forward. When football institutions, organizations don't do that, then they should face whatever punishments they get.
Okay, Ephraim, for the Chan Nations Cup, it has not really been, even on the continent of Africa, that importance have not really been given to this tournament. And Patrice Motsepe, actually, when he came on board, the Chan Nations Cup was put up before him to help develop players who are applying their trade on the continent of Africa, and then give them that sense of recognition and belonging. But this competition has not really lived up to its billing one, and people have not really seen the importance, the fans, football fans, supporters, stakeholders in this competition. We had Libya, Algeria, most of the North African countries pulled out of this tournament.
Yeah, you see, for the North African countries and some other countries like South Africa that have pulled out, they feel that they are not at the level where these other African countries are. Why? They make use of their home-based players for their grade 1 national team, the Team A national team, if you can call it that way. So you have South Africa field at the last Nations Cup. Several of their starting 11 were from South Africa. You look at the North Africans, most of their starting 11 play football right at home. So they don't see why you need another tournament, a second-tier tournament for players playing at home when their players play most football on the home front. So that's the difference between these countries and some countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, and the Cameroons, where most of our players play football outside the shores of Africa. So we are at different places. For these countries that depend on Europe-based players, we have Team A coming in from Europe. So Team B for those who are at home. Now, countries that their Team A play on the home front don't see a reason why they need to have another development program for Team B. So it's just a case of where you are. They have developed their local leagues. Some of us haven't done that much for our countries. So if they decide not to be part of it, for the organizer and for the countries, you can understand. Then for the fans, give them something to want to watch. For instance, we have the likes of Brownie there. He's a retired Super Eagles player. Now he's playing for a local club. Let's have more of such players play on the home front. Then you can have people who want to watch the tournament. So fans are not warming up to it because their preferred stars are not there. That's the reason.
Okay. Canis, what other step do you think CAF can take to make this tournament a viable one, so that it can have that weight, that recognition? When you say Chan Nations Cup, and everybody will want to watch games on the Chan Nations Cup, what do you think CAF, what other innovative do you think CAF can bring in to see that this Chan Nations Cup becomes a tournament that, yes, everybody, whenever the tournament is coming up, you know that, yes, something has happened on the continent of Africa?
I feel media has a very big role to play. The entire media outlets in Africa, we have to say these things, advertise it, talk about it on every social media platform, on telly, on radio. They really have to invest in media. Then there should be commercial partnerships. They should look for companies or firms, organizations who are interested in football and who want to partner with them for specifically commercial reasons. These are two critical areas I think they can look at to better the competition.
Okay, to better the competition, I believe Patrice Motsepe and his executive members, his board members, must have heard you and Ephraim talking about how we can make the Chan Nations Cup better. All right, let's come back home and quickly look at one Super Eagles player who is eyeing a return. That is Leon Balogun eyes Super Eagles return. Ephraim, for Leon Balogun, in my own perspective, from my own opinion, I think we still need this guy in the Super Eagles, at that back line of the Super Eagles. I remember his defense with Williams Truss Ekong was a very solid one for the Super Eagles.
Yeah, when you have health concerns, injury worries, and you're out of a team for a long time, there will be some kinds of skepticism about your abilities. But if you look at what he had done in the past, talking about the partnership you're talking about, his qualities and abilities are not in doubt. I believe he should be given another shot at the national team. If he's fit, if he's ready, why not?
Okay. If he's fit and ready, why not? Canis, I don't know if you have one or two to talk to say about Leon Balogun.
At this point, I don't know what his performance is like because typically I don't like to look at age. But Leon Balogun is 36 now, and before the Nations Cup, he's going to be 37. It depends on his performance, the level he is at, what his body tells him. Then we would see if he can have a chance. But I want whatever chance he is getting should be typically because of his current performance, how consistent he has been across the year, rather than what he has done in the past. That's what I prefer. So I don't want to play the age card because we've seen a lot of times people who are 34, 36 who are actually having a nice time of their career way more or say better than people that are younger. So it's down to how his season or his year has been.
Okay, all right. We can take that from CR7 of Portugal. The man is still waxing strong. Next month will be his 40th birthday. What a way to go and announce yourself. All right, for Leon Balogun, let's see if he's going to get that chance to play for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. All right, let's look at these. Around goes to the women's side. That is Nigerian Women's Football League. The league commenced last week, and now we have match day 2 fixtures. Interesting games will be coming up today in match day 2 of the Nigerian Women's Football League. In Group A, it's going to be a lot of big games, crackers, derby games. We have Heartland Queens of Owerri against Edo Queens, that's defending champions. They are the title holders. They won it last season. In Group A, Remo Stars Lady is Southwest Derby against Ekiti Queens. The Nas Ladies will battle Confluence Queens of Kogi. Abia Angels against Nasra Amazons, who are close to us here in the FCT. And then in Group B, we have Nigerianews of Abuja against Rivers Angels. FC Robo Queens of Lagos will entertain Adamawa Queens. Delta Queens against Benue Queens. And Ibom Angels, that is South-South Derby. Ibom Angels of Akwa Ibom against another South team, their South neighbor, Southerners, that is Niger Delta, against Bayelsa Queens. Okwanachi, I will come to you straight up. We have mouth-watering fixtures for the Women's League match day 2. Heartland Queens, Edo Queens, Remo Stars Ladies. That's a derby, and then one derby in Group B. What are your expectations for match day 2 after we've seen interesting games in match day 1?
Well, you're talking about match day, and 9 of those teams there answer the name Queens. So let's see how they go and strut the top, whether they can, live up to the name. Some are called Amazon, some are called Angels, but 9 out of 16 are known as Queens. If they put on their royal display, we should expect some fireworks in this round of matches.
Okay, we should expect some fireworks. Okay, what's your take? The South-South Derby, Ibom Angels against Bayelsa Queens. 2 seasons ago, Bayelsa Queens was high-flying, but for Ibom Angels, well, good one. They coming as in getting promotion to play in the Nigerian Women's Football League.
Well, anytime you have a local derby, it's always an interesting match. Wherever it is around the world, it's tough to have a local derby. So it depends on the form both teams are coming into this particular encounter. But trust me, all local derbies have an extra motivation. You're playing for pride. Both of you are in the same area. There's something always at stake. So when that form comes into the match day, you will see some, kinds of results that sometimes are shocking, sometimes are difficult to call. So it depends on the form these 2 teams are coming into this match. And it's rather a little early for a derby, but it is what it is. You just go and play the game.
Okay, Canis, I will take you on your team. I know you would want to have affinity for Heartland Queens because that is your zone. Heartland Queens against Edo Queens, and when it comes to women's club football in Nigeria, Edo Queens are power names, super powerhouse in women's football. What are you looking forward to in that game, Heartland Queens against Edo Queens? That game will be coming up at the Dan Ayam Stadium in Owerri.
If we are able to nick a draw, then that would be nice. I think the Heartland as an institution has a lot to do, both the male team and the female team. But Heartland Queens, I hope this season is different. They make a huge announcement. But looking at this game, I am just hoping they are able to nick a draw.
Okay, we just hope they are able to nick a draw for Edo Queens. The match they won, they were in their first game. It was 5-goal thriller for them, 5-star performance. That game was played at the Samuel Ogbumedia Stadium, but in match day 2, they are away to Heartland Queens of Owerri. Now let's go straight to Europe. Leave the country. It was Champions League night, match day 7 in the UEFA Champions League. Let's look at the result, and then we'll look at the result one after the other. One team, Canis, I know you were all smile last night because your team won. They had to do the comeback. AS Monaco beat Aston Villa 1-0. Atalanta, Ademola Lookman against Tom Graz of Austria, it was 5-0 hammering. And then Atletico Madrid came back to beat Bayer Leverkusen 2-1. And in a 9-goal thriller, Benfica lost at home to Barcelona. Rafinha getting the last goal there for Barcelona. 5-4 it ended. Bologna 2-1 against Borussia Dortmund. Club Brugge and Juventus played a goalless draw. Frank Onyedika was so instrumental to Club Brugge's goalless draw against Juventus. We have FK Zevda against PSV Eindhoven of Netherlands. It was 3-2. Liverpool beat Loxley at Anfield 2-1, and Slovan Bratislava won VfB Stuttgart 3-1. Canis, I will start with you because while I say you were smiling, your team almost lost that game. 9-goal thriller in that game against Benfica. 5-4 it ended. For Hansi Flick, he was so good with Barcelona, with Bayern Munich in the UEFA Champions League, and also taking that form to Barcelona this time around and this season. What's your take about that game?
Of course, excited. Barcelona were able to clinch the 3 points at the end of the game. But I always have a feeling that there is usually a trade-off between the offensive and defensive stability when teams who score a lot of goals concede a lot of goals. A very typical example of what I'm saying is with like Tottenham, for instance, in the English Premier League. I think they are the second, they're placed second in the team that has scored the most goals. However, they are not even in top 10, as well as Barcelona, who has scored the most goals in La Liga, but they are still at the third position at the moment. So I think one good takeaway for Barcelona would be to try to strike a balance between the offensive and defensive actions. You know, I feel when they commit a lot of bodies in the last phase, in the final third, they leave their back way too open. And by the way, that game could have gone 5-4 to Benfica because there was a last action in the box that for some reasons the referee didn't call it, and that could have been a penalty. So if that was called a penalty, Rafinha's late goal would have been cancelled because it was a transition moment after that action that Barcelona scored that goal. So it's a win, and they've qualified for the next stage, but they've got a whole lot of work to do.
They've got a whole lot of work to do. Canis, I actually like that, as in pointing out that error from the referee, which would have given Benfica an advantage. But Okwanachi, let me come to you. For Aston Villa, they actually bottled. They are finishing in the top 8 of the UEFA Champions League when they lost to AS Monaco. This was a team at the start of the UEFA Champions League. They were topping the table. We will still look at the table, but for Aston Villa's result now, the last match, they just have to find a way. They would have been they would have been playing the playoff, but with that result, definitely Aston Villa will be involved in the playoffs.
It's quite unfortunate they are dipping in form at a time when you'd expect them to hit top form, but these things do happen. We've seen it happen all along over the years, particularly with teams playing in the English Premier League. They have these congested fixture around December where teams play 6 matches. It's always very difficult for them over the year to get over those 8-9 matches they have to play, particularly over the holiday period. Just a couple of 2 weeks, you have so many matches to play. So that's a challenge the English Premier League needs to look into. Players have complained about it, club sides have complained about it, but it's a holiday culture they want to maintain. It's there. But for Aston Villa, it would have been better for them, like you observed, after 3 matches, they were on top of the standings, to have just qualified straight up. But now, the first 8 teams will qualify automatically. Then from number 9 to 24, will have to play a playoff, determine which of the 8 out of 16 will join the top 8 teams. So it's something they could have avoided. But like you said, they are now condemned to put up a good show on match day, the final match day, to know if they'll be among the teams to go through.
Okay, now let's look at the table quickly. Let's just look at the table because games will be coming up tonight. Also, we'll be looking at those fixtures for the evening sports show. But let's look at the table after a round of games played last night. And we've seen those teams, the wins, where they are on the table and what it means. Liverpool tops the table with 21 points, followed by Barcelona with 18 points, Atletico Madrid 15 points, Atlanta 14 points, having played 7 games. Arsenal will be playing later on tonight. They've played 6 games, 13 points. Bayer Leverkusen have 13 points. They lost their game. Inter Milan hasn't played, 13 points. Aston Villa now has they are on the 8th position with 13 points. Eventually, if it ends this way, Aston Villa will play in the will just automatically qualify for the next round. position. Brest has 13 points, having played 6 games also. And then we have AS Monaco on the 10th position with 13 points. So almost 5 teams have the same number of points. Loxley has 13 points. That is 6 teams now with 13 points. Bayern Munich, Dortmund, Juventus, AC Milan, PSV Eindhoven, Club Brugge, Benfica, Sporting CP, Feyenoord, 10 points, and then the last, we have VfB Stuttgart on the 21st position with 3 points. Real Madrid has 9 points, having played 6 games. Celtic has 9 points, having played 6 games also. Man City has 8 points. Dynamo Zagreb have 8 points on the 25th position. PSG has 7 points, having played 6 games. Bologna, Shakhtar, Sparta Prague, Girona on the 30th position with 3 points. And then we have Zvezda with 3 points, Sturm Graz with 3 points, Salzburg with 3 points, Leipzig, Bratislava, Young Boys, and Bratislava have 0 points, and they've considered 18 goals and 19 goals minus 19 goals. That means they've considered more than any other team. Canis, I wouldn't be surprised because there's going to be a shocker after the last match day. 1 or 2 big teams will not qualify for even the playoffs.
I'm very happy to see PSG not qualifying for the playoffs.
Why?
I feel, you know, they've had pumped a lot of money in their sporting project, but for some reasons they've not been able to direct that. And I being a very big fan of Lionel Messi, I didn't feel they treated him so well in that team, and that's just what I have against them, honestly. But they are doing well in the league. They've always been doing well in their domestic league. It's always been this UEFA Champions League that poses a problem to them. They're facing Man City today, and I'm hoping Man City is able to take the 3 points home.
Okay, like I said, this is the shocker. This is the interesting side of it, why UEFA actually organize it as a league. Now we are seeing what the league is doing to the big boys. Now, Man City also are not safe yet. They might not. Kwanachi, if you look at it, I think this is what UEFA really wanted. They want to see, okay, give other smaller teams that sense of belonging, that confidence, moving ahead in the Champions League. And we are seeing the interesting side of playing this competition in a league format.
Absolutely. You know, before now you had 4 teams in a group, and a good coach knew how to balance his arrangements for the home matches, the away matches, along with his local league. What do I need to do to qualify for the round of 16? They've always known how to do that. So they come all out and then they plan. It's like they're playing chess. Okay, I'll take this move and make this, and then they know when to qualify, how to qualify, and even spare some matches. But as it is now, down to the last day, you still have teams struggling to qualify. Only 2 teams have, you know, been able to gain that passage that they cannot be usurped by any other team, even if whatever the results for matches 7 and 8 are. So it's a result the UEFA wanted, they are getting. But the flip side, like you have rightly observed and Canis has also observed, is that a couple of big names might not even make the playoffs, and it's a sad one. If PSG loses tonight, then it leaves them almost no chance of qualifying even for the playoffs. So kudos to UEFA for this new arrangement.
Okay, kudos to UEFA for this new arrangement. All right, let's quickly look at some transfer stories on the show this morning. We'll start with one team that is flying high in the EPL. Yes, they want to beef up their team. Someone says they are holding the position, but they've proved every critic's wrong. We are not holding that position. Definitely, we will be playing in the Champions League. They are Champions League winner. We are looking at Nottingham Forest this morning, who has gone to Molineux to identify one player who is also on Arsenal radar. That is radar. We have Nottingham Forest makes Wolves forward Cunha a January top target. Matheus Cunha, who is a fantastic player for Wolves. And then we will not react to that. I will not allow you guys to react to that. But we'll look at this one, the next story from Stamford Bridge now, where Chelsea to hold talks with Manchester United over £50 million rated winger Alejandro Garnacho. Canis, quickly, for Garnacho, Chelsea, Would that be a good business for Man U and Chelsea?
If I were in Manchester United, but I'll ask them to sell because they have a new manager who probably doesn't believe in a whole lot of things with Gacho and that project. So it's good they let him recruit his own players, and by that way they need to raise revenue to be able to do it. So those sort of players that he wants to phase out, they should just do that immediately. And for Chelsea, for some reasons, they've been throwing money around. That team actually knows how to spend money. And in that position, they've got Joao Felix, they have Jadon Sancho, at least, because that's left swing. Yeah, I know Neto, because Neto is a left footer, they always prefer to use him at the right wing, so he would always cut in his left leg. So I don't know why they want to buy Garnacho, honestly, but let's see how that plays out.
Okay, let's see how that goes for Chelsea. They are money spender. The big boys, they know how to spend. Let's look at this. Still with Manchester United now, where Manchester United winger Anthony is almost completing his loan move to Real Betis in Spain. Okwanachi, I think this will help this young man to revive his career. I think Spain is a good ground for Anthony to go to.
Yeah, we've seen what happened with Mason Greenwood after he left England. So it looks like when they leave Manchester United, they normally find their feet. We've seen other players move away from Man U and have excelled. We've seen those who are even playing the Premier League after leaving Manchester United going to other clubs. So once you have the opportunity to play and play regularly, players get to improve. Right now, he doesn't have that. So a good is always a fine move for any player not having game time in a big club like Manchester United or any of the big clubs in Europe.
Okay, for Anthony, it was really not a good season last season for him, just scoring one goal. And it was not what Manchester United want. Let's see how that move will go in Real Betis. And we'll look at this one before we take tennis. Juventus Dortmund keen on Chelsea defender Renato Viega. He's a young man, and definitely who will be going out of Chelsea. Let's see if we'll go to Juve or Borussia Dortmund. And before we go on the show, let's take this tennis story. We know that the Australian Open is up and running. Then we are in the last four of the Australian Open in the women's version and also the men's version. Yes, for Swiatek, definitely in this morning, she was able to do it. That is against Iman Navarova, to get to the Australian Open semi-final after beating Navarova 6-1, 6-2. That is a 8th seed Navarova, and now she will be facing Madison Keys in the semi-final. Quickly, Canis, we have Madison against Swiatek in the semi-final of the Australian Open.
I always love when things especially in big stages of games, when people who are underdogs, when they come on top. So what I would love to see in this one is such thing, something that was going to make people to say, wow, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Okay, on her own, Madison Keys defeated American, the American defeated Elina Svitolina 3-6, 6-3, 6-4 to progress to the semi-final of the Australian Open. So we look forward to an interesting game between Swiatek and Madison Keys, who's also in top form this season. And then for the men's version, it was a painful one for Alcaraz, who lost to Novak Djokovic. My player, Alcaraz, well, let's see how it goes. If for Djokovic, if he's going to win the Australian Open, he is through to the semi-final also after beating that is Alcaraz. All right, that is where we'll be leaving it on the show 360 Sports this morning. Thanks to you, Okwanachi Frame, for coming on the show, and also to you, Canis, for joining on the show. Great one having you guys on 360 Sports.
See you later. Thanks for having me.
All right, that is it on the program. I am Emmanuel Fashimi. Say thanks for watching.